Well, hello again, dear citizens of the shaft. Last time we talked about 10 ways you can make your builds more aesthetic. Now, I got a lot of feedback from people who wanted some hot tips on PvP building, and I thought that was a great idea. Let's go ahead and do it. So I hit up my boy TimmyCarbine once again, and now we have this video. Quick mic pass. Timmy, say hi.
G'day everyone, this is TimmyCarbine and I'm the best damn builder you've ever seen.
Yeah, you better believe he's the best damn builder you've ever seen. Go sub to him if you haven't already. The tips TimmyCarbine came up with for this video are absolutely mind-blowing. I don't know how we figured these out, but I was going through like the Google Doc that we worked on together and I was like, huh? How did you do this stuff? I was looking at his footage and I couldn't believe it. I don't care how good you think you are as a builder, you're going to run into some tips in this video that are gonna change your life. I couldn't believe it when I saw it and you definitely won't believe it when you see it. So let's go right in! Number 10. You know what? Generally, you start with the thing that's like the least cool and go into the number one most cool thing, but I'm gonna give you a taste of the kind of insane stuff that you can actually do for your PvP builds, starting with triple layer foundations. What? That's right, triple layer foundations. I couldn't believe it either until I saw it. Let's take a look. Now, TimmyCarbine set up this base for me to sort of play around with and kind of experiment and test raid, right? So, you know, sometimes we get a little bit clever and we're like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go straight for the foundation. If I take that out, I'm in, right? No, you're wrong. You try to go after the foundations on this base, you're gonna run out of C4 real quick because this is not easy to take down. To pull this off, it's the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen. The stuff that this guy comes out with, it always, I'm just like, huh? So here's what you do. It's pretty crazy. You're gonna start by putting a foundation down anywhere. Next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put a pillar on top of that foundation. Something weird happens now. You've just created like the catalyst that allows you to now craft the most insane, unrateable bases you have ever seen. Because now when you attach additional foundations to that first one, what happens is they're lowered. They're lowered into the ground for some reason. Now, I don't know why this works, but it does. What you can now do is you can slam extra foundations onto that first snap point, right? So one is already in the ground, one is higher up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna snap the foundations to the one that's above the one that's like lowered into the ground. It's kind of hard, like listen carefully, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it's pretty simple once you got it. And now you can mesh your foundations together and you have super foundations. Good luck rating them. Number 9. Your number one priority is to create as many obstacles and as much space between the inside of your base and your would-be raiders, which is why we're talking about buffer chambers. Something really obvious that you should know, but I'm gonna have to tell you because you probably already know it, but you don't do it, so we're gonna talk about it now. Buffer chambers are pretty darn obvious, very simple. You know, you have an inner core, you have an outer sort of, well, buffer chamber, you know, basically blank space between the inner core and the outer wall. Very simple. You know, I don't really need to explain how to build that, but the idea is very important. When it comes to raiding and raiders in general, you really want to keep them away from the inner core and make it so that their raid takes as long as possible and costs as many resources as possible for them to get in. Now, a couple of benefits to the buffer chamber is, one, you can actually set up pillars along the inside, which will actually prevent them from being able to blast down enough walls to get dinos inside your base. If they get dinos inside your base, you're doomed, all right? Second, you can do other kind of crafty, cynical things, like fill it with all kinds of traps and other things, which we'll go into in another one, but, you know, moving on. Number 8. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-layer walls. I really don't need to explain this one to you. More walls equals more harder to break into the base, right? We all get that. You want more walls. More walls means more C4 to break in. Yeah, easy to understand. Cool. But did you know you can have four walls all stacked up on top of each other? Like, what? This is another one of those mind-blowing things that I couldn't believe when I saw it. Now, this is pretty easy to do. Once you have your foundations down, you can set down those convenient little fence foundations, which a lot of people overlook, but it turns out that they're way more useful than you'd imagine. And you have 2 snap points per foundation, right? So you put 2 of those fence foundations, parallel to each other. And now what can you do? You can set down 4 walls, 2 walls per fence foundation. Boom, 4-layer walls. Good luck breaking into that. Number 7. Gateways are bad and only bad people use gateways. Okay? We're going to take a little bit of a detour real quick to have some real talk. We got to talk about it. It's something nobody wants to talk about, but we got to bring it up. Look, here's the thing. Stop using gateways. Stop. This is the dumbest thing you can do that is going to get your base raided faster than you can imagine. It's just not defendable. Gateways just aren't defendable. It's a bad idea. I know it's convenient. I know it seems nice, but it's a bad idea. It's a really bad idea. Gateways require not so much C4 to blast down. In fact, I believe it takes less C4 to blast down a gateway than it takes to blast down a wall. And guess what? Once we blast down that gateway, we have a giant gaping hole into your base, which we can then bring dinos into. Bad move. Don't use gateways. You're gonna have to just stick to walls. If you want to make a convenient little box for your dinosaurs, that's fine, but do it outside. Let's go back home with number 6, multiple doorways. You thought I was gonna leave you high and dry. You thought, great, I have impenetrable walls, but what about my doors? Well, don't worry, I got you covered there too. Doors are pretty weak. In fact, they're so weak that they're often the weakest point of most bases, and as a result, the first thing raiders go for. So surprise them. When they try to bust down one of your doors, make sure that you have 4 other doors there. This one is pretty straightforward. Once you know how to do the multiple wall trick, you can now do multiple doorways. And this also gives more credence to what I was saying about the buffer chambers, because when you have a buffer chamber, you can do the same trick. So you can have 8 doorways, make it impossible for them to bust through. In fact, it'll be harder for them to get through the doors than the walls. It'll be great. Imagine their frustration. It'll be beautiful, and it'll be phenomenal. Number 5, does this look like a normal ceiling to you? Of course it's not a normal ceiling. Like everything we do, it's gotta be completely ridiculously over the top difficult to raid. And this one's really easy too. See, we already did the hard work. We already got mad snap points, right? We got mad snap points. Very simple. Now that we got 4 walls all stacked on top of each other, we have 4 snap points for ceilings. Wonderful. So just stack those ceilings on top of each other, and now your base is very, very difficult to raid from any angle. Number 4, the final line of defense. So let's say our would-be raider's gotten so fed up with trying to raid every angle of the space that he's finally decided to commit to the walls. Okay, cool. So he's gonna commit to the walls, and he's finally blasted it down, and he's going in. Well, what do we do now, guys? Well, remember, we gotta make this as difficult as possible for them. Obstacles every step of the way. You ain't getting to that vault easily. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stuff small dinos and traps everywhere. Everywhere. Every square inch of that base, of that buffer chamber, all of it. Put small dinos and traps everywhere. I've seen a lot of raids foiled, successfully foiled, while the actual people getting raided are offline by small dinos. Very important, often overlooked. Don't miss it. Coming in at number 3, let's step it up. So you thought we were gonna just stop at 4-layer walls and leave it at that, huh? No. If you're insane like us and you really refuse to admit entry to the foreign hordes who would have your homeland, then what you must do is line those walls with vaults. This is completely absurd, but hey, it works. If they're thinking they're gonna get through those walls, wow, are they in for a nasty surprise when they find vaults at the other side of those walls. Good luck getting past that. Number 2, you're only as strong as your weakest link. This is another one of those things that are pretty darn straightforward. A lot of people forget about it, but if you got a base that's like impenetrable, you don't want to put like a weak door or a gateway there. We already talked about this. But on the other hand, you can also use this to your advantage. Bear in mind that when people are raiding your base, they're going to scope it out. They're going to look for the weakest point. Why not use this to bait them? Check this out. Now, this is a totally crazy concept idea that TimmyCarbine came up. This guy is insane. I can't believe the stuff he comes up with. The idea is to set something super obvious, like a thatch foundation. You know, they're gonna be scoping it out. They're gonna be like, are these guys stupid? Did they make a mistake by putting a thatch foundation there? Inevitably, they're gonna destroy it. Of course they are. They're so dumb, so predictable. And when they destroy it, what happens? A wall of turrets! And next thing you know, everything that they own is dead. Fantastic, right? Think about this. What kind of traps can you come up with? Drop it in the comments. Maybe we can put it in another video. And finally, number 1, I am death. Now, this might be the most dangerous thing I'm giving you here. I probably shouldn't even talk about it because this is seriously dangerous. As it turns out, you can actually armor your PLANTX species things and make them unbiteable. Unbiteable! The only way to take these down is with explosives, if you can get close enough. This is crazy! I can't believe he showed this to me, and I can't believe I'm showing you this! This is bad! This is so bad! But fun! So let's talk about how to do it. Now this is kind of another one of those ones that are just like, what? Huh? How do you even figure this out? It's so weird. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start by putting a pillar down, pillar anywhere, followed by a ceiling on top of that pillar. Now what did we learn in the last video? When you do this, the nubs don't stick through. This is very important. Pay attention very carefully because the order of operations matters. And the next thing you're gonna do is you're going to snap a ceiling to the ceiling that you just put down on that pillar. Great. Now what did we learn about pillars last time? Well, when you put a pillar down after the ceiling, which is what you're gonna do right now, you're gonna put down a second pillar, you get the nub. You get the little nub thing. It sticks through the top of the ceiling. This is vital. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put our crop plot down, followed by 4 ceilings on each side around the crop plot. Now, this is important because by adding the additional ceilings, it gives you extra snap points, which is important because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the metal fence there. And if we don't have the 4 other ceilings, we don't have snap points for the fence. The crop plot will block it. So the additional ceilings are vital. Once you've got all those down, this is where we kind of go back to what I was talking about with the nub. Now, the nub sticking through the ceiling like that, what it actually grants you is an extra snap point. So we already have the ceiling, which is already sitting on that pillar, but because the pillar is sticking through the ceiling, we have the very tippity top of that pillar to use as an extra snap point, which we can then use to place a hatch frame on top, sort of like a sandwich, sort of like a PLANTX sandwich. This is crazy. This is phenomenal, in fact. Well, dear friends, that's all I got for you today. Huge thank you to TimmyCarbine. Go subscribe to him if you want to know more about this kind of stuff. That guy makes off-the-hook building videos. Fantastic guy. And hey, before you go, let me run a couple things by you real quick. For one, if you're new here, why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button? Look around on the channel a little bit. I have no doubt in my mind that if you look around, you too will become a loyal citizen of the shaft. Also, why not go ahead and check the bottom of that description? We got some pretty hot links for you to check out. Why not join our Discord? Why not join our server? You know, we have a public server you can join right now. And of course, if you haven't already, check out our Patreon. Your support directly goes towards us making better and hotter and doper content. And you also get some pretty hot perks too. Pretty good deal, right? Go check it out. Until next time.